Hey there, and thank you for watching the Designated Pundits. We are doing a season preview for all 30 Major League Soccer teams, and today we're going to talk about Inter Miami. And thank you guys for blowing up the chat already. Remember, we're going live with all 30 Major League Soccer teams. Today is Inter Miami, but you need to catch all 30. You got to know your rivals, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to the Designated Pundits on thedesignatedpundits.com. You could search us on every major podcast platform, on YouTube at the Designated Pundits. So thank you guys for checking in already. And we're happy to have guys from the Battered Herons, Daniel and Chris here, ready to talk Inter Miami. We're going to do a brief recap of the 2024 season and move into 2025. Guys, I want you to plug your brand in just a second, but we're starting every show this year with a simple question. I want you guys to share your favorite soccer memory from 2024.
Chris, you want to start?
My favorite soccer memory, that's kind of loaded. I would have to say, wow, man, this is
okay. I'll give you. I'm sorry. I'll give you mine. It was Drake stopping Cucho one-on-one to secure the victory over Columbus over the summer when we beat Columbus without Messi and Suarez, where that was supposed to be the point of the season where Inter Miami tanked because we were missing Messi and Suarez. And we went off and we basically won all but one game during that summer run. And that game specifically, everybody thought we would lose. Again, one-on-one opportunity for Cucho to tie the game. Drake stopped him. My single moment, that was it right there.
I'd probably go with when we won the Supporter Shield against the team who had the current record for the most points in the season. That was a pretty cool moment.
I thought you were going to go Drake blocking Cucho on the PK. I thought we were just going to double up on Cucho.
No.
Okay,
we can't do that.
Right. Good moments.
Yeah, love to hear. You guys had a heck of a season. It may not have ended the way everyone expected, but hey, that brings more drama, and that brings more for us to talk about when we recap the season. Again, guys, I know you guys are the Battered Herons, part of the Battered Fans Network. Would you like to plug your work here?
Yeah, real quick. We do Battered Herons. We come on 3 to 4, sometimes 5 times a week. We do post games, we do preview shows, and we also have our own MLS podcast, Battered MLS Fans, which Bob was a constant guest on during that playoff run, where we also will be previewing.
Just when I thought I was out,
they
pull me back in.
That's it. Every week it's like, oh, Bob, let's go back, let's do it again. So it's fun, and we try to get as many podcasters on as possible to get a little insight from all the teams. That's us and Battered Fans.
And also speak Espanol about once or twice a week, talking about Inter Miami as well.
Thank you. Yes, we have a Las Garzas, which is herons in Spanish. We have a podcast where we talk Battered Herons in Spanish once a week, also Mondays at 10 o'clock, sometimes twice a week, but for sure Mondays at 10 o'clock.
Love it. Let's take a strip down memory lane 2024. Let's recap the season here. 23-8-6 record, only 6 losses. And of course, that's good enough for a Supporters Shield any year because it was the points record. 12-4-3 at home, 11-4-3 away. That's what the best teams do. They're consistent at home, they're consistent away. 84 goals scored, very high. 55 goals allowed, not the best, about league average, maybe a little worse. But that was good enough for a plus 29 goal differential. They were eliminated unceremoniously by Atlanta United, the team that wasn't even invited to the dance. And that ended the season. It also got you a new coach because that is a cardinal sin, losing to that Atlanta United team who sold their number 9, sold their number 10, didn't replace them, and made a Cinderella run in the playoffs. Guys, 2024, lots of good, lots of Talk about it.
Well, I wish you would have put eliminated by Brad Guzan, because that's basically what it was. We didn't get eliminated by Atlanta United, but I mean, yeah, essentially, yeah. I mean, I would literally be okay with just getting eliminated by him versus the whole entire team. I mean, we had a really good showing. Messi, it helps to have Messi and Suarez. They definitely put up a lot of goals for us to have that sort of differential. and our defense really wasn't as bad as people had thought it looked to be. No, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, like the whole thing was our defense sucks, our defense sucks, our defense sucks. Statistically, throughout the season, there were five top defensive teams. We were right behind those five, so we weren't statistically, at least, as bad as everybody says. But when your offense is as good as it is, you look for the weakest point to complain about, and it was the defense. But offensively, it was historic, even though technically it wasn't the most goals scored in a season. It was the most goals scored in a season in open play because we only had, although we have all these attacking monsters, Messi, Suarez, and all of them, we only took one PK all of last year. So, it was a pretty historic season for us. And like you said, it ended unceremoniously against Atlanta. But, I think that it bugged a lot of the players. It lit a fire under the front office to fire Tata, even though supposedly he walked away. But we don't believe that. And I think that they're going to come out with something to prove this year. I think that they have a goal in mind because I think that they were a bit embarrassed by the way that they were eliminated last year.
And I just want to say, as a gambling guy, your defense was just bad enough. Both teams to score hit 81% of the time. Both teams to score over 2.5 hit 70% of the time. I mean, this was the well we just kept going back to because even though the defense, and you're right, they were not as bad as we might have made them out to be, but they were giving up a goal every game. And that was like clockwork. And for me, on the betting show, that was something we absolutely love to see. Scott?
Yes. The betting thing, absolutely. I don't remember exactly what the play is, but we hit like a plus 400 something 1 week on just like a slam dunk, both teams to score bet with Miami. Look, my abiding memory of Miami last season was being unconvinced. I'm not a Miami hater, guys. I'm not here to pick fights.
No, it's okay.
But all season long, I watched the defense. And look, Sergeant over here in the chat, we got eliminated because we don't have a goalkeeper. I watched the defense get bailed out by Drake Callender. I watched the defense be.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott.
I watched the defense not actually do a very good job and not really be the reason that they didn't concede that many goals. I watched teams kind of not attack Miami in the way that I thought they should do. I left games being like, wow, Miami should have dropped points there. Why didn't they drop points there? And, and then every now and then they just blow some team up. And I'd be like, well, yeah, okay. I expect that.
Yeah. And there's also a reason, there's a reason that you give up goals, right? In a 1-0 game, in a 2-0 game, you never want to give up that first goal. When you're beating the crap out of a team 4-5-0, like what is a goal amongst friends? Let's get Bob as both teams to score and move it on to the next weekend. So I do think there's a connection between these top tier elite offenses and the defenses giving up more goals just because they don't need to be as clinical as a team who's going to win by one goal. It is not 1-0 in the 90th minute when you're 5 ahead. Yeah, maybe you get a little sloppy. The mentality isn't quite there. So I do think that they were a little better.
It's more open. The Galaxy was the exact same way.
I think the deep. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think the defense solidified a little bit when we started playing Yannick Bright in the midfield as a defensive midfielder. They moved Busquets to center back, and I think that helped solidify the midfield defensively a bit more. Towards the latter part of the year, I felt like our defense maybe played a little better because before Yannick Bright was out there in the midfield, we were suffering. So I think that did help a lot as far as the defense is concerned. And the first 3 halves of the Atlanta series, we didn't give up a goal. Yannick Bright went down, and the last 3 halves, we gave up 5. So Yannick Bright had a lot to do with a lot of the defensive mishaps that we had.
Let's talk now about the 2024 offensive contributors. A little typo there. Luis Suarez, 20 goals, 9 assists. You had Lionel Messi, 20 goals and 11 assists. Leonardo Campana, 8 goals, 2 assists. Robert Taylor, 5 goals, 3 assists. And then you had Jordi Alba, 4 goals, 10 assists out of the left back position back there. Matias Rojas, 4 goals, 2 assists, and Diego Gomez with 3 and 3. This is the way it was planned out. It's very top heavy, but it's top heavy for a reason. It's because you got 2 of the best, to ever play the game. And I think that We had injury concerns for Luis Suarez, but no one, certainly here, was questioning his ability on the ball. He stayed healthy for a majority of the season, and that's why you have, numbers that look exactly like this. That's the game plan, right?
Absolutely. And when you can rely on Messi and Suarez, all is well in the world. The worry is them keep staying healthy. I think that's the biggest question mark. But when they're playing, we're scoring.
Well, and just like Mr. Krabs said, Luis Suarez didn't score only. Well, I mean, I believe he scored a couple more goals, but
Bob said that it was a typo.
It's
20.
Yeah.
It's a typo. It's 20.
But as far as like the backup striker is concerned, that's probably one of the most things that I guess we're sort of considering at this very point in time, because Campana was decent for us as far as the backup is concerned.
He was.
Yeah, and well, I might push back a little bit there. And one of the things that, on one of my other shows, I have a guy who always looks at XG numbers. And I actually like XG numbers. Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi were like off the charts in the plus on the XG. And it's not because they were lucky. It's because they're two of the best players to ever play, to find the craft of finding the back of a net. And I do think Campana's numbers in that scenario were a lot worse than expected. And if you had a guy, say, league average, maybe the results would be the same or even a little bit better. Of course, not Luis Suarez, Lionel Messi numbers, but Campana, again, in a high volume offense, you never really know what he has. It's a guy like Joveljic, where he's getting so much service. It's a volume game, and when you have that volume, you're going to score goals. So I'm not so doom and gloom about that position, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of the players that are incoming and outgoing. Scott, can you take us through that?
Outgoing. Look, this is a long list, so let's go.
Yes.
Outgoing: Sergi Krivstov, Franco Negri, Nicolas Frere, Matias Rojas, Diego Gomez, CJ Dos Santos, Leonardo Campana, who we just mentioned, Facundo Farias. Oh boy, did I miss anybody here?
Matias Rojas was also a player.
Yeah, he's there.
He's there. Okay, so quite the list. Let's not go through everybody individually. Look,
the biggest loss there was Diego
names.
Gomez.
Yeah, give me the biggest loss. Give me the one that hurts.
Diego Gomez was the biggest loss there. Facundo Farias didn't play last year. Campana was okay, but nobody's going to miss him. Diego Gomez was the biggest miss there, just because he gave you so much because they were playing him at left wing. He's not a left winger, but they were playing him at left wing. But he would drop back and help so much defensively in the midfield that he covered up for a lot of the lack of defensive help that you would get from Messi and Suarez. And that was the worry going into this year's, who's going to fill in that space that Diego Gomez is leaving behind. So that was by far, in my opinion, the biggest biggest loss. I don't know if Chris agrees.
No, I definitely agree with Diego Gomez. He's number one on this list in terms of losses. I mean, Campana is the only other person that I would mention, just for the simple fact that we've left sort of a gaping hole back there behind Luis Suarez.
I would have thought Facundo Farias would have been up there. I mean, I know he was injured and he didn't play, but I was ready for him to have like a DP level left wing season before the season started, and we never saw that coming. It's very, it was a little surprising when I heard, I actually put out an early depth chart yesterday, and someone said, "Oh, check on Farias, he left," and sure enough, like it was 3 or 4 days ago, his deal was finalized, and it was a little surprising to me. Like, no one's seen him play in 12 months in a professional game. I would have liked to have seen him run it back there.
He's had more than one knee injury, so I think that they were worried about kind of relying on him as the starter going into another season. When this season, and I know we'll probably get into it in a little bit, but this season is all about trophies, right? Like the goal is not just one, like the multiple trophies, because we're in multiple tournaments, and you need people that you can trust on playing, especially when the biggest weight is being carried by Messi and Suarez, which are 37. Suarez has a combined one good knee. So I think that, we need the young guys to be healthy because, we're a little old, long in the tooth in some other positions.
You need the young guys certainly to do
and we already have one guy with too many bad knees. We don't need another younger guy with too many bad knees.
Okay, let's take a look at the incoming players. And that's going to be, you got an MLS journeyman, Fafa Pico. You talk about league average guys, see what he does. In a high volume offense like this, he might be the one to tap it in the back of the net a bunch of times. You got a young kid, Tadeo Allende, Gonzalo Luan. That's a new right back. He should be, fighting for a starting spot back there.
Yeah, he's going to be pushing Wagon for that starting position out of right back.
You got Telasco Segovia. That was kind of a big signing you guys were looking at to add to your midfield. And then 2 goalies. You complained about goalies. You got 2 of them. And Rocco Rios Novo, I believe that's kind of the bigger name of the 2. Are you guys seeing that?
Oscar, well, Chris, do you want to get the goalies? 'Cause I know you love talking goalies.
Well, I mean, Oscar Ustadi is a little bit more of a veteran presence. I guess more of a proven commodity. 40. Yeah, he's somebody that I guess you would feel comfortable with playing just in dire times. Rocco Rios is a younger guy that he's been through. I believe it was the Atlanta United 2 team amongst other teams. He had a really good showing during penalties, so that's something that our fan base kind of likes. Now, whether that's going to lead to him starting, I don't know if that's the case because I think Drake is going to maintain that spot. But as far as incoming moves, Fafa takes the cake on this list.
Yeah, I think we agree with that. Where you guys maybe expressed a little bit of hesitation around Leo Campana, Fafa definitely brings a veteran presence, and he's coming off a relatively good season as well, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's going to bring pace to something that we lacked. But I think the biggest offseason acquisition for us might be either Telasco Segovia. I think he's going to be the one to fill in that Diego Gomez role because he kind of fits that same profile, maybe a little slimmer, not as big of a body as Diego Gomez, but he gives you the same skill set. He could be a defensive midfielder, but also helping the attack. He's a little saucier than Diego Gomez is how they was described to us. Mm-hmm. And somebody that you missed was Maxi Falcon. They call him La Peluca, which is the wig because of his hair. He is somebody that's going to be a center back. And I see him on the depth chart. So you
got you guys.
Yeah. So Maxi Falcon, I think, is going to be playing left center back next to Tomas Aviles, right center back. I think that's going to be the center back duel. And a lot of people were complaining about the defense. We need to upgrade the defense. Again, I don't think it was as bad as people say, but I think that is the upgrade that people were waiting for. So now you have Jordi Alba, Falcon, Aviles, and either way, Gana Lujan. I mean, it's all going to be tactics now because the players are there. Now we just have to see them perform.
Now, one thing I saw a lot last year from the fullbacks was being caught out of position, especially Jordi Alba going up too far, not tracking back, that kind of thing. We talked about goalie. We talked a little bit about center backs. You said Falcon and Aviles. I have Falcon and Martinez as the 2 starters. Either way, let's talk about the fullbacks, what they're expected to do, what their duties are, and what the upgrade is. Obviously, you see Luan. You said he was going to fight Wygant. I see that before the end of the season, so I put a depth chart. Now, this is just a random smattering. I mean, you could have put Julian Gressel on any position on the field, but this is just great. We need something for the show. Let's talk about the fullbacks.
Well, I'll tell you this much. As far as Jordi Alba, his role's not going to change. He's going to be able to push up all the way to Messi land if he wants to. But one of the keys here is to be able to have a center back with enough pace to be able to make up the ground that he's already not covering, right? Or he's going to have to come back and cover. So that's where Maximiliano Falcone is going to be able to make a huge difference playing the left center back role. I mean, he's even had players like Noah Allen, who was our backup left back. He's been put into the center back role as well. So I think
Bob got it.
Him and Sailor there behind David Martinez. Awesome.
Yeah, they're not going to see much time, but I mean, they're there and they have pretty much better pace than Sergei Christoph did. I mean, he had cement feet.
Yeah, pace was a problem in the back, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, he played like he was wearing Timbs. It was terrible.
It didn't get better when Busquets slid back there. Let's be honest.
No,
well,
but
the quality in defending, yes. You go ahead, Danny.
No, I was going to say that one problem that we had to start the season was the quality of working out of the back. Tata wanted to play a possession-based game. We wanted to build up the back, but the players in the back just weren't good with the ball at their feet. Thomas Aviles, would constantly give the ball away. Once Busquets started playing back at center back, he kind of settled that down, and we started being able to build out of the back. So that helped a lot. I'm hoping that Falcon can do the same. But that was the biggest issue we had with our back line, I think, to start the years. We just couldn't build out the back as much as Tata wanted us to.
Do you see a change in tactics in that sense before we kind of go up the field? Look, new coach, new style of play, maybe?
We don't know.
I think he's gonna get pretty fancy with the way that he sets up his formations, Danny. I think it's gonna be based on personnel. But yeah, it's like what Danny's saying. We really don't know. We really have no idea what he's gonna be doing formation wise.
His only coaching job was the U20 Argentina team, and he saw them a couple weeks out of the year. So he never really got to really build anything. We don't know what to expect. That's why we were looking forward to the first preseason game. From what we saw in the first preseason game, still playing a high line. Jordi Alba's still basically playing left wing because he pushes up so high. And they were keeping more compact. They kept their form. We drew them offside like 5 times in the first half. So we hope that maybe they're going to be playing a little more organized, but we'd have to wait and see it because there's still a lot to see. We don't really know. And we still haven't seen everybody that you put in that incoming list. We've only seen one of those players, Fafa. All those other players haven't played yet because they're still going through their visa process.
Yeah.
There's still so much that we're waiting to see that it's hard to tell.
Now, I would think that the defense would be, I mean, it's Mascherano, right? Like, he's brought in for a reason. You know, you expect a certain thing from these defensive coaches. So I would be shocked if it wasn't. You know, like when Mike Petke was coaching Red Bull, it was like, we gotta have the best defense out here. Up top, yeah, you do what you do. Like you know, go put the ball in the back of the net. So when it comes to tactics, I think that defensively would be quite sound. Let's move up a row and talk about the midfield here. I just picked 3 guys that I like and threw them together. Do you expect like a 10-8-6, 2 8s and a 6? What is your? I guess they're lined up on this graphic kind of like 2 8s and a 6. I mean, I wanted Redondo to be on there. Anyone who plays FIFA know he got an excellent card. Got all that love this year from EA Sports. What do you see from the midfield?
We're expecting a 4-4-2. We're expecting them to play with a double pivot, which is going to be Busquets and Redondo. And then you're going to have your left and right mids kind of playing out wide. We don't know who is going to be starting. Redondo, I think, gives you more of the offensive. Chris and I have had this conversation. Chris thinks that it should be Bright because Bright is going to cover up for Busquets' lack of pace. And, I mean, let's be honest. Busquets isn't the best defensive midfielder as far as defending. So he helps connect the back line to the front line. That's great. And he's going to be a playmaker, but we need somebody to help cover up Busquets, and I think Bright would be better at that, but I do think it's going to be given to Redondo. And then we would probably see Segovia in there, and we don't really know what that other midfield is going to look like. We're kind of still curious to see, but we do expect a 4-4-2 formation. Chris, I don't know if you want to add to that.
I mean, for my, personally, I believe that Bright should be there and not Redondo because he was more proven towards the end of last season. But Redondo, as far as what a lot of people say, he has the higher ceiling, better capability, especially offensively. I think it's a lock at this moment that Redondo and Busquets are going to be sharing the midfield. And then, of course, we're just going to have the wingers out, on the side. But those two are going to be commanding pretty much the midfield.
Okay, so sounds pretty good. You got guys like Julian Gressler, who you could put him in any position here. Let's talk about the wingers and the strikers. I'm kind of interested in this 4-4-2 thing, which I guess in attack it kind of was a 4-4-2 anyway. These base formations are just kind of like this is how you line up when the ball's kicked and then do your own thing. Wingers and strikers.
As far as winger is concerned, this is the key here, though, right? Like, who's going to be playing behind Luis Suarez? Is the team willing to be able to sit Fafa Picault for 65 minutes until Luis Suarez just drains? Or do they want Fafa Picault to play starting left wing? If you ask me, I love Robert Taylor, and I want to keep him starting at left wing. But Fafa Picault, he showed us something in the first preseason game. And that's a game that really doesn't matter, I guess. And so imagine his pace and his level of play when the games actually do start to count. I mean, Messi's Messi. He's holding that position down packed. The left wing is the question, to be honest. No, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's going to be Tadeo Allende that's going to be playing out at the left side. If we line up with a left and right wing, I think it's Tadeo Allende, and he will also be the backup striker. It all depends on the formation, I guess. But I think Tadeo Allende is going to get that. I know we've had the conversation about Fafa or Allende. Allende is the hybrid because a lot of the players that we brought in can play multiple positions, right? So, for example, Tadeo Allende, if you look back, he's played left wing one season, right wing another season in his past. Like he can play both sides, and he's done it in the past for full seasons. So I think that Tadeo Allende gives you a little more, and that's who I'm expecting to kind of be that left winger or playing out wide on the left side across from Messi. But like I said, still too young, too early.
It's so early. It's so early. But tell me a little bit about like what you expect out of that left wing role, considering that Jordi Alba is going to push high and wide and is going to look like your winger most of the time because that's who he is. You game plan a little bit around the players you've got.
Yeah.
So that left winger, do you see that an inverted role? Are they going to push high? Or are you going to look to them to share some of that goal scoring load? Because those are totally different roles, right?
Well, and considering, Jordi Alba makes these overlapping runs, that just opens up the game for us. And that's one of the reasons why Robert Taylor, in reality, kind of was a ghost at sometimes in the game. So Robert Taylor, who has the capability and really is willing to go at the defense, he got lost sometimes because of Jordi Alba. Now, are you willing? That's the thing with Fafa Picault. I think it'd be fantastic to bring him towards the end of the game when you're playing against a tired squad. No, Danny?
Yeah, and I think that's why Diego Gomez worked at that left wing role, because I told you earlier he was playing that left wing role, but because Jordi Alba made those overlapping runs, Diego Gomez kind of, like you said, he was almost playing like an inverted winger. He would kind of drift off into the midfield and just pick up the sloppy balls or track back on defense and cover for Jordi Alba whenever Jordi Alba would leave that open space behind him. So the left winger, yes, Jordi Alba is basically our left wing back with four in the back, because the left winger doesn't really do what a traditional left winger does on a team when you have Jordi Alba kind of dominating that side.
And what is your top pairing for the striker position? I mean, is it Suarez, Allende? Do we know who is going to be together there?
Suarez and to
Messi
be determined.
Sometimes. I mean,
Yeah, well, no, Suarez, and I've heard rumblings that we are looking into a South American kid. I'm just gonna throw it out. I would venture to say it's probably Argentine, but I don't know. They just told me South American, but they are looking at a young 20-year-old backup striker to bring in. So we'll see. And then also Baltasar Rodriguez is also possibly on his way. He is a midfielder to add to the already crowded midfield, which I don't know where he fits in exactly. I think Julian Gressel might not be here by the time the season starts. We don't know. But the fact that he probably won't be a starter and he's getting paid over $1 million, I'm just going to venture to say he probably won't be here.
There's a market for him. There's a market for him.
Absolutely. And I hope that he goes. And I hope he goes somewhere and does well, because, I mean, I gave him a hard time at the start of the season last year, but, he proved me wrong during the summer. And I'd like to see him go be successful somewhere else for him to get the opportunity. But, yes, Baltasar Rodriguez is on his way also. And, yes, and I didn't say he's a striker. I say he plays in the midfield. He is a cam. So, yeah.
One player who we haven't talked yet about is Benjamin Kamashi. And he's one of the guys that if you went on MLS.com or while listening to any other podcasts, you would hear his name every 6 seconds. Where does he fit into this show?
I would say he's going to be a backup. I mean, I don't think that he's going to find himself starting minutes. And he's also competing against another young guy, David Ruiz, who's also trying to get some time up in the midfield as well.
It's a crowded midfield. I don't know where Kremaki kind of fits in. we get a lot of hate when we say Messi runs the team because people take that like but it's true. And Messi and Mascherano have brought in the Segovias, the Redondos, the Baltazar Rodriguez's, and Cremasco's gonna have a hard time getting some minutes in that midfield. I think that he will find time when we play, because if you look at our schedule, the fact if we go far in the Champions League and we were to go far, let's say, I don't know, in the Club World Cup, we're playing just about every Wednesday this season outside of like 8 of them. Maybe there's 8 that we haven't played in. So he'll find minutes here and there, but he's definitely not going to have a big impact.
He's still only 19, right? So it's not like you're
he's American.
27-year-old, whatever.
I don't think he minds being teammates with Messi. He said it. He loves it.
Yeah.
Who would, right? Who would mind?
Right. Very, very interesting coming from a different viewpoint. Like I would have thought he would have been bigger in the plans, but it seems like especially looking in the chat, and if you guys are listening, you should get in the chat, switch over from audio to YouTube, because I mean, it is cruel for him right now getting torn apart in the chat. Love to see that. Let's move on to some 2025 storylines. Now I've posed them as questions, but they're not necessarily questions we're going to have answers to anytime soon. My first one is, who's the next big name in Miami? You kind of mentioned a few there. Anyone else on the back burners?
Neymar, summer, incoming.
Yeah, that's what the thought is, that he will be here in the summer. He signed that 6-month loan over there to Santos. Now, the fact that he became part owner of Santos, and that's his childhood club, that made me question it a little bit. Maybe he's part owner now of his childhood club. Maybe he will stick around over there. But I've always thought he would be here in 2026, and I still think that he'll be here in the summer, but who knows? His buddy, Raul Sanlehi, that was our sporting director, just got the can yesterday. Well, he got reassigned. I'm sorry, he didn't get the can. He got reassigned. So I don't know if that kind of throws a wrench in the plans, but
I heard that reassignment was definitely pre-planned and not because he got into an argument with Messi.
Absolutely not. That's not why.
Do you guys have money for Neymar?
Listen, there's money everywhere with Jorge Mas and Jose Mas. Are you kidding me?
Do you have cap space for that?
We have a DP spot. We have an open DP spot. Yeah.
How is that possible?
The only DPs on our team are Busquets and Messi.
We'll find one.
That is insane. You know that?
Yeah.
That is insane.
Luis Suarez is on a TAM deal. Jordi Alba's on a TAM deal. And those are the biggest names. But yes,
Miami went from having probably the worst front office in the history of the league, like literally guys who didn't know the rules, to having this team and having an open DP spot.
Yeah, it's wild, but they've turned it around.
Some of that Manchester City accounting going on there. Okay, let's get into some of these storylines. Can they repeat as Shield winners? Now, our biggest question was really Luis Suarez. What do his legs have left in him? And it turned out that when you guys didn't have a star, when Messi was missing, you still won a whole lot of games. Can you repeat as Shield winners this year?
I would say so, but I don't think that's the focus.
Well, that perfectly fits into my next question. What competition is going to be Miami's focus for 2024? There's a whole lot of them.
Champions Cup is the priority. They want to win that international cup. They want to make a statement that they could win an international tournament. And if you look at the path, we probably have the easiest quadrant in that whole tournament. We literally don't play against a Mexican team until the semifinals. So I would say Champions Cup is that, and I think they have a good chance of making it to at least the semifinal and final. And then MLS Cup, that was the big disappointment last year in the playoffs. And I think they're definitely going for that. But the focus initially, Champions Cup, absolutely. And everything else falls by the wayside.
Yeah, I also agree with that.
I think the Shield can't be the focus.
No, not at all.
In the chat, Mike V, no Shield this year, too many games.
Yeah.
I think if this team is smart, they will avoid the Shield.
We don't want the jinx. Keep it.
No, I want the Shield because I want the home games. I want the home game for the playoffs. I'm sorry. That's the only thing I care about the Shield. I'm not worried about that play. Yeah. I don't care about it. I think it's look, I know a lot of people love it.
You happen into the Shield, you happen into the Shield, but there's a point at which yeah, home games are great, but the best thing you can do is go into the playoffs healthy and on fire. And as long as you do that, you'd be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, the Red Bulls at home against Galaxy, maybe that turns out a little different.
Maybe because a certain center back would have stayed his butt in the hotel and not gotten sick the day of the game.
Andre Reyes, shout out, because former Inter Miami player.
Peace. He's out. Anyway, let's finish up with some predictions. The first three go together. What is a realistic season outcome? What is the team's best possible outcome? And what is the team's worst possible outcome?
Okay, I'll start. Realistic. I think a Champions Cup, at least final appearance. I'm expecting that with the road they gave us. I'm expecting at least the final appearance and an MLS Cup trophy. I think that this team can do it as long as they don't run into a souped up Brad Guzan again. I think that they can win the MLS Cup and Champions Cup. That is, I think, a realistic season outcome. I don't think they're going to focus in on the Leagues Cup that there was announced they were going to play in there. I don't think they're going to worry too much about that. Possible outcome, the best possible outcome, obviously, is winning every tournament. And worst outcome is going trophyless. I'm sorry. Heads will roll if they leave this season without any trophies.
And I'll tell you, as far as realistic season outcome, I think that the MLS Cup is super realistic. I feel like Leagues Cup is also realistic. I'd include the Leagues Cup as well, Danny. As far as the best possible outcome, easily every single trophy possible. The worst possible outcome, you mentioned getting no trophies. I think even if we walk away with one, that's going to be still a bad outcome.
I think Chris is right about that. Danny, you mentioned it earlier. You said trophy. Wait for it. Fees.
Yeah.
The team that I think, like, you look at the top end talent at what this team could do. Slowly.
We're losing your audio there, Scott.
No.
Well, why he finishes fixing that? If that one trophy is a Champions Cup or the MLS Cup, one of those two, I think everybody is okay. Obviously, Champions Cup comes really early in the season, so by the end of the season, people would have forgotten about it already and been really upset. But I think as a whole, one of those two trophies, and I think that you're happy. You win that international trophy or you win the MLS Cup and get the star above the badge. I know, Bobby, I know you've wanted that for 20, 30 years now. So, that
close.
I think,
if not for Andre Reyes staying inside the hotel, could have been ours. 2 goals in the first 10 minutes.
So I think one trophy might be okay if it's one of those two.
You just answer the question. He moved right away after that. Yes. After that, Andre Reyes was not secured by the team for the expansion draft, and he was traded to San Diego. And I have no other comments based on that because we're talking about Miami today and not the Red Bulls.
Yes.
All right, Scott, anything final? I think
I don't know. Does my sound work?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. No, look, this team was super exciting to watch last year. I'm looking forward to that again this year. I agree with so much of what you guys have said. The atmosphere around this team is super, incredible as well. We need more of this in Major League Soccer.
Absolutely.
Let's have it. Let's go.
And your Achilles heel, Atlanta. Good to know that they are loading up again. They are not going to be the pushover of last season. So I like to see maybe a little friendly rivalry get started there, gentlemen. From the Battered Herons, we have Chris and Daniel. Guys, thank you so much for being our guests tonight.
For sure, I appreciate you guys having us, man.
Okay, and everyone, thank you for checking in. Remember, we are previewing all 30 Major League Soccer teams, the Designated Pundits. You can hit that subscribe button, or you can find us on your favorite podcast platform. Monday recap shows, Thursday predictions and sportsbook bets. This is the Gambling Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a great week.